I enjoyed 8 good years of working under Dr. Arnold Cook. They were very enjoyable years, very fruitful. They were stressful in a sense that we had a lot of responsibility. A couple of things stand out. When I first was approached by Arnold Cook, will you come to the National Ministry Center and take the position that I've been in, because I've been elected the president? I remember my response was, I asked, would you, Arnold, in your wisdom, allow for a certain percentage of the Global Advance Fund dollar that's designated for mission to be earmarked for experimental kind of things? My reason for saying that was that after having worked in Asia for about 10 years, I realized that a lot of things that we were doing were the way they had been done for 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, and they weren't working that well. And my feeling was that we needed to be experimenting with different approaches, new ways of doing things, perhaps even in new contexts, to find out, to experiment and find out how we can do mission better, because we weren't doing it all that well in the what do you call it, estimation of many people. We weren't seeing the church growing as rapidly as we could. We weren't reaching the least reached, and so forth. Arnold gave a thumbs up to that request and that proposal. And then when I got into the national office, he didn't turn that off. He gave me, this is probably the second thing that I really appreciate about Arnold. He gave me a wide berth with great accountability. I've worked under some wonderful Alliance workers in Canada in the previous, what it would have been, 27, almost 30 years prior to working with Arnold, and they were all good. But Arnold was stellar in the sense that he gave me plenty of breadth, plenty of space to work in, to experiment, to try this, try new things, but he kept me accountable. Every 4 months I'd sit down with Arnold and give account where I was going, how far I'd come, what was on the horizon. He would give a few sort of mid-course corrections, but he would in the end give a great deal of liberty to allow us to go in the directions that I felt the Spirit of God leading us. One other item about Arnold. I remember in the mid-90s when our dollar was, what was it, around 65 cents, and we had this bill every year that we had to pay. For 100 years we had been paying the International Ministries Division in the United States to supervise our international workers overseas. We paid for the real estate space that was proportionally used for the supervision of our people overseas. We paid for the regional directors proportionate to their numbers and percentage. And our percentage of international workers was growing, but our dollar was shrinking, and we faced the crisis in late 96, early 97. I'd been in Cairo and didn't have internet access, so I came back. On my way back, I stopped in Madrid, downloaded the email, and there was a letter by Ken Payton, Vice President of General Services, to the CNMA in the U.S. saying, we cannot any longer afford this partnership. And so 1 year from this date, we will be suspending the partnership agreement. Well, that took me by surprise. When I got home, Arnold said to me, Wally, this is your department. Create something and bring a proposal in. The assumption in the United States was, you can afford to pay these bills if you send fewer international workers. But Arnold did not have that assumption. Arnold was fully committed to sending every qualified candidate no matter what. And so we found other ways to align our budgets and spend our money and save dollars so that we could send everyone. Being who I am, I deeply, deeply appreciated that value. It precipitated quite a few convulsions in the international work of the North American Alliance Church. But I think in the end, we are seeing today that some of these things are beginning to bear fruit. And some of the experiments that we've embarked on, some of the new locations we're working in, are now beginning to bear fruit. And we're finding new ways of doing mission among the least reached, because we, with conviction, followed through on the principle. We will send every qualified candidate, and we will experiment if we have to. We'll try to find new ways to do things better and more effectively.